Spelling vocabulary words. It's one of the most elementary of skills. In recent years, the time-tested tradition of students competing to be top speller has reached new heights, and today we celebrate Bee season. Come each March, the march is on toward the National Spelling Bee in Washington, D.C. In auditoriums and stages across America, it's game on. We'll have a closer look at the local hopefuls. We'll also take you behind the headlines for a feature on one of the most understated aspects of the spelling bee, the pronouncer, whose every utterance can make a difference.
Well, they want to know the part of speech, they want it in a definition, they want it in a sentence so that they have time to actually really think about all the properties of every single word. That's when it gets fun.
Plus, we check in with B-Boy, the Southwest Florida homeschooled spelling whiz, who almost stole the show at the National Bee a few years back. I'm Amy Osher. Thanks for joining us. We'll also preview the upcoming vote. That's all coming up. Welcome back to Behind the Headlines. When it comes to competitions showcasing brain over brawn, the spelling bee takes the prize. Tiny town or super-sized city, there's no advantage. Students master the same list of words, so a winner can come from anywhere. We kick off today's show with a stop at our local bee, where spelling is serious business. Nearly 50 Collier middle schoolers put their spelling to the test, the competition going 21 rounds before crowning a winner. Getting the last word was seasoned speller Natalia Rosen. Ousted in her first trip to the Collier Bee last year, she came back prepared and determined in 2016. At round 21, she correctly spelled the word vaquero and took home the top prize. Natalia's closest competitor was Sai Rachamala. The two went head-to-head for close to a dozen rounds before he was tripped up by Curdle. That means Natalia, who goes to East Naples Middle School, earned an all-expense-paid trip to compete in the Scripps National Spelling Bee later this year. In each of the competitions, there's one person who's always on the hot seat. Every bee requires a pronouncer, someone who presents the words and follows up if asked with definitions. If you thought this job was easy, think again. Words roll off Jay Schlichter's tongue.
Always enjoyed words, being a wordsmith, and so they approached me last year and said, would you be interested? And I loved the idea.
His golden voice got him this gig, but it's not enough to ensure success. Like the students before him, Jay studies a lot.
Considering the fact that I go through every single word in this book, I have a deep appreciation for what these kids are able to do.
There are hundreds of words, many almost unpronounceable, unless you're the pronouncer.
Okay, this is from last year's list. This one's definitely a doozy. Sure, hold on. Yeah, can we start again? Sure. Scheherazadian. See, it's even difficult for me to pronounce. There's a total of 500 words. The first 300 are taken from a big list that the kids are given that they can study from. The last 200 words, any word is game from the Webster's Dictionary. So that's when it gets really tough. Scheherazadian.
Spelling bees start relatively easy. Jay warms the field up with words like
hedgerow, bandage, deadened, traction, impeach, millet, scrutinize.
Deeper in the rounds, it gets downright brutal.
Nayansuk. Another word. Tahara. Another word. Mishima. Bahuvihi.
When the going gets tough, bee competitors get tough too, putting their pronouncer through the paces.
Can I have a definition?
Of course. A substance produced by a microorganism as a bacterium. Well, they want to know the part of speech, they want it in a definition, they want it in a sentence so that they have time to actually really think about all the properties of every single word. That's when it gets fun.
With a trip to the nation's capital and a shot at the National Bee on the line, Jay's timing and inflection must be pitch perfect.
You don't want to say it so slowly that it's obvious. You just say it very naturally. You know, a lot of the kids ask you to repeat it sometimes 5, 6 times.
Rules allow students to request a definition, sentence, part of speech, language of origin, and alternate pronunciations, sometimes becoming an entertaining back and forth. At the end of the night, there is one victor.
E-R-O, Vaquero.
Correct.
And Jay goes back to his job as a newspaperman, anonymous until the inevitable school kid sometime, somewhere calls him out.
They're like, wait, aren't you the guy that did the spelling? It was cute.
One of the most entertaining spellers, maybe of all time, came from right here in Southwest Florida. Up to this point, Cape Coral's Jacob Williamson was the highest finisher in the National B from this area. His appearance on the big stage was memorable, to say the least. While he didn't win the title of top speller, a 15-year-old Jacob Williamson won the hearts of spelling geeks everywhere. It was 2014 when the homeschooler nearly stole the show.
C-H-A-R-C-H-A-R-O-D-O-N-T, Carcharodont.
Correct.
One of the elder statesmen that year, Jacob is remembered for his animated style and signature moves. His enthusiasm blew up on social media, with so many people tweeting clips and photos that hashtags Team Jacob and Speller38 were top trenders online. Jacob made it 9 rounds before the dream came crashing down. Ousted by the word Cabarrugorya, he finished 7th in the National B. We touched base with him last week and found that while Jacob aged out as a competitor, he now mentors other spellers hoping to pick up where he left off. Coming up on Behind the Headlines, we're spilling secrets on preserving fine wines. In our Living Luck series, you'll get a peek at some really cool custom wine cellars. Stay with us. Welcome back to Behind the Headlines. It's that time when we shift into our newsroom for insights from the Naples Daily News. First stop, the Editor's Corner.
Thanks, Amy. I'm here today with Jacob Carpenter, who's been working on a 4-part series about DUI manslaughter in Florida. And some of what he's found looks at how the state of Florida handles these cases, the delays that occur. Sometimes a year at a time or more, suspects are able to go free before they're arrested. In some cases, they've escaped justice entirely. So today is part 3 of our series. And Jacob, if you could tell us a little bit about what we could expect in today's story, and also the final story that's supposed to run on Wednesday.
Sure, thanks, Brett. You know, the third story really looks at, in a lot of these cases where you do have a delay and that there eventually is an arrest made, there's some consequences that come along with that. We found dozens of people who had prior histories of DUI, people who were driving on a suspended or revoked license at the time of the crash, and then people who just spent years free before they were arrested, 150 or so who spent years free, often because police either didn't get around to finding the person or it took them at least a year to finish their case and decide to arrest that person.
That's really interesting, and I know one of the things that you discovered in your reporting as well, that there were some suspects who committed other crimes while they were out.
Yes, we found about 30 or so, including, I believe it was about 10 or 12 who had DUIs in the time between their crash when they weren't arrested and eventually when they were arrested for that DUI manslaughter charge. And those are just the ones who were caught. So, you know, we don't know if there are other people who might have been out there driving as well while drunk in that time.
This is a really comprehensive look at the state's handling of these really important cases. I encourage you to go to naplesnews.com to see the series. Also, we're going to have a forum on Wednesday. We're inviting the public to come out to talk a little bit more in depth with some of the key players that Jacob has talked to help with this project. This will be at 5:30 here at the Naples News building, and you're welcome to come and talk about DUI broadly and specifically the crisis of DUI manslaughter cases.
Just a few days out from voting in Florida, and our editorial page editor, Alan Bartlett, is putting in long hours. He shares his thoughts in our weekly commentary.
Oh, excuse me. I was looking at the fine print. Sorry about that. Actually, I'm not sorry about checking the fine print at all. When you get one of these glossy campaign flyers in the mail, hear an ad on the radio, or see one on TV, the very first thing to check is the fine print. Some voters are still getting confused about political advertising. If it comes directly from the candidate's team, the fine print should tell you it's paid for by the candidate's campaign. If that disclaimer doesn't show up in the fine print, there's a good chance it comes from a super PAC. A super PAC is officially called an independent expenditure-only committee, and it can amass contributions from people, corporations, unions, and other groups with no limits on the size of the donations. It then can put out flyers and ads supporting a candidate, but it's more likely they will be tearing down an opponent and most likely altering the truth in the process. So while they are called super PACs, S-U-P-E-R, I think they ought to be renamed and called sewer PACs, S-E-W-E-R. Not to bring up a sore subject, but if you remember the campaign to take over the Southwest Florida congressional seat that became vacant a couple of years ago, that one really went into the sewer, thanks to the sewer PACs. If it wasn't nauseating enough to have to tolerate them in federal and state races, now they've also gone into the sewer in the mayoral races in Naples and Bonita Springs. What a shame. What a sham. When I see a sewer PAC ad or flyer, one of the first things I do is wait to hear from the candidate who benefits. Do they denounce it? And how forcefully? If they don't, as far as I'm concerned, they are complicit. The real dilemma is what to do with a sewer PAC glossy flyer. They aren't biodegradable, so you can't flush them down the toilet. And I won't put them in my recycling bin because you aren't supposed to put garbage in your recycling. And these things, after all, are pure garbage. That's what I'm thinking. Join in the conversation at naplesnews.com.
Agree or disagree? If you'd like to add to the conversation, just drop us a line or comment on Facebook. Florida being the largest winner-take-all primary state, all eyes are focused here as votes are counted on Tuesday. While many local races will be decided, the presidential race is a big question mark. So in today's Street Beat, we asked who you think will and should win the primaries.
I'm an atheist, and I support Ted Cruz, simply because he understands the constitutional republic. That's it. It's that simple.
I think that Bernie Sanders, for a lot of people, is way too left, way too. It's against what a lot of people are used to in this country. While I like a lot of his ideas, I don't really think they can be implemented. So I think it's more likely that Hillary will win, although I'm not a huge fan of Hillary either. So it's tough.
Anyone but Trump.
And who do you think will win?
I think Hillary will win.
I want Hillary or Bernie to win. I do not want Trump to win at all. The Republican candidates, Kasich is probably the one I would choose if I had to choose a Republican. Who do I think will win in the Republicans? It'll probably be Trump.
Well, it's going to be Mrs. Clinton and probably Donald Trump. I have already voted for Kasich because I think that's the only person on the Republican side that's not an idiot.
Still to come, worried about weatherproofing your fine wine? How about a custom cellar? Stay with us. So you've invested in a fine wine. To make sure you enjoy it to the fullest requires storing it in the right conditions. Not easy to do in hot, humid Florida. That's fueling a trend, a cool trend, custom wine cellars. Unheard of in many parts of the country, but not in Naples, where residents are accustomed to living luxe. Our Going Grape columnist Julie Glenn reports.
This is a bottle of wine on the list at Sea Salt for $35,000.
It's from Bulgari, and Tenuta dell'Ornellaia is probably one of the benchmark wineries, one of the finest wineries coming from Italy. And it is actually a special release bottle. It's 3 liters, and only 2 were brought to the United States. One was sent to Sotheby's to put up for auction, and the other one is our bottle that we had.
It's as close to priceless as wine can get, and its care is in the hands of Lisette Zelaya, the sommelier at Sea Salt. Her workplace is home to one of the more interesting cellars in Naples with more than 1,000 bottles, including this normal-sized bottle of Ornellaia, which is on the list at $500. The challenge unique to Florida is keeping wine away from everything that makes Florida a tourist destination. Being a person in Florida is great. It's warm, sunny, and beautiful. But for a bottle of wine, it's not that easy. Usually they're stored underground in cellars, but here you have to have above ground cellars. But more importantly, you have to make sure they're always running.
In Florida, not only do you have to have a location that is sealed and you can control all these aspects, but you also have to have a generator or a backup plan in case you have some electrical problems like we do here throughout the summer, whether it's just a power outage or a hurricane or, you know, there's so many tornadoes recently.
It's been weird,
hasn't it? It has been. And all of these things affect how you can store your wine. And even just changing your constants for just a matter of hours or days is going to greatly affect your wine.
Wine needs to stay cool at 55 to 57 degrees. Heating it even slightly can accelerate aging, which is best done slowly over a number of years. Excessive heat, including a few minutes in a hot car, can lead to cooked wine, which completely changes the wine's flavor.
Immediately, you don't notice too much of a difference in flavor. It happens over the course of several weeks after it's been exposed to heat. It starts to take on notes of stewed fruits like prunes and maybe like figs that have been stewed into preserves. And there's a really kind of caramelized element that you'll smell in the wine and you'll taste it.
That's not what a winemaker wants you to taste, and it's certainly not what a business or wine collector would want their investment to turn into. Naples is probably one of the only cities where personal wine collections regularly exceed those of restaurants. That's where off-site storage facilities come into play, and cellar managers like Bruce Nichols.
Primarily, my core business is cellar management. I manage cellars. By that, I mean I do inventory management. I buy and sell, so I'm a broker, a licensed broker here in Florida.
We're standing in one of the cellars that he manages in a temperature-controlled storage facility in Naples. It's hard to believe that $300,000 worth of wine can fit in such a small space. But every wine here is a treasure. Take this Napa Valley Reserve. It's made by Harlan Estate, whose wine literally is the photo on the Wikipedia entry for cult wines. By definition, cult wines are almost impossible to get and very expensive. This bottle is even more exclusive. About 1,500 members paid $150,000 each to be part of an exclusive club that is able to buy a minimum of 6 cases of Napa Valley Reserve every year.
The wines typically retail for, well, I shouldn't say retail because one of the other stipulations that Bill Harlan has put on Napa Valley Reserve is that you're not allowed to sell this. You will never see this advertised in the open market. It is for private collection only. He wants the wine to be consumed, not to be resold in the gray market or on the open market.
Depending on the vintage, it goes for $190 to $300 a bottle, and this corner is home to a stack of this wine. On the opposite wall is a stack of 100 100-point wines, an almost priceless collection won at a Naples Winter Wine Festival auction. Finding a safe home for an investment like this is Nichols' business. Since most Neapolitan wine collectors find off-site storage, the other part of his business is helping the client select wines from their own cellars.
You know, I'll get a call on a Tuesday. I'm having a dinner party on Friday night. Here's my menu. They'll send me their menu. I'll look at the menu and I'll match the wines to the menu based on what's in their inventory.
And it's an inventory that is, rest assured, in optimal condition. For Behind the Headlines, I'm Julie Glenn reporting.
Finally today, those artsy, whimsical turtles on display in public spaces around Naples are history. We said ta-ta to the turtles this past week. For the past 4 months, they decorated downtown. The artist-embellished turtles were packed up and taken to auction. Before they got their makeovers, each sculpture weighed in at about 75 pounds. Then local artists applied paints, shells, and all sorts of adornments. The turtles provided a colorful backdrop for selfies and pretty pictures from Naples. Bids started at $5,000 with money going to 3 local charities. That wraps up this edition of Behind the Headlines. You can rewatch or share this show by going to naplesnews.com or liking us on Facebook. I'm Amy Osher. See you back here next week.
Okay, this is from last year's list. This one's definitely a doozy. Sure. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. Can we start again? Sure. Scheherazade. I haven't. Scheherazadian. See, it's even difficult for me to pronounce.
Picture one.
See, I'll be able to see it though.
Okay, no, I'll pull it up. I gotta put it so I can see it. Okay.
Don't ask me a hard one, Amy.
I'm going in between. Okay. Argentus.
Argentus. A-R-G-E-N-T-I.